Hi, I'm Matthew Polomina with Daily Finance, here with Radj Patel, the best-selling author of the book, The Value of Nothing. Raj, thanks for being here today.
It's good to be here, Matthew.
So I just want to jump right into it. I would like you to distill the message of the book in as few sentences as you can.
Sure. I mean, the title, The Value of Nothing, comes from the Oscar Wilde line, "Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing." And that's really what the book's about. It's about why prices look the way they do and what's behind the scenes in the way that we value and misvalue the world. So it becomes a way of talking about economics, but it also becomes a way of talking about how we might value the world differently and more sustainably.
I tend to overthink things. I start looking at the world's problems and I get overwhelmed very easily. And like, I want to get involved. I want to help. Let's say for many of the average Americans, they want to get involved. They want to help make a difference, but it's really overwhelming. How does something like the message in your book look in real life? How does someone who doesn't have all this time, who has a job, has family to take care of, how do they start to get involved to make a difference?
I understand that we feel overwhelmed every day, and particularly when the problems of the world are so big, whether we're worried about the deficit or about hunger or poverty or war, whatever it is, that you feel like, I'm just one person, what can I do? And if you believe that, if you believe that you're just one person, then in the end, there's only a small number of things within our world that we can change. We can shop differently, we can buy more sustainable stuff or whatever it is, and that's important. If it's a choice between buying fair trade something and unfair trade something, sure, you buy fair trade, because who wants you don't want coffee with the blood of small children? No, you buy fair trade. But actually, one of I think that this is one of the ideas in the book is that. That is most empowering, that we're not just one person. In fact, we are way more powerful than we have been led to believe, and that we can organize for change. And indeed, in the United States, there's a very long and noble history of change happening because people got together and organized for the right thing to happen, and the country has become stronger as a result.
So is that one of the first steps? Organizing, getting involved, joining a policy group in your neighborhood, in your town?
So whatever. I mean, for me, as a new American, one of the most important and one of the largest challenges that we face in this country is hunger. Right. The data came out just a month or so ago that over 50 million Americans are in a situation of food insecurity. Now, that's something that we can do something about. We can take that on, but doing that as an individual, it's kind of hard. I mean, sure, we can make donations to food pantries, and we've got to do that. But ultimately, it's a tragedy that we have food pantries and food banks. I mean, ultimately, we need to be moving to a society where everyone's prosperous enough not to need food pantries. And so getting involved in your local, whether it's your local church or your local community group, there are across the United States these things called food policy councils that bring together interested citizens and local government and small businesses to figure out ways that we can grow and work the local economy so that nobody goes hungry. And getting involved in that kind of local activism is really empowering, and it makes you feel strong, and there's nothing quite like doing that. And wherever you are in the US, there are these food policy councils, and people just go to your local search engine and type in food policy council on AOL, and you'll find many of them.
So we were talking just briefly before the camera started rolling about the uprising in the Middle East right now, and you said this is actually related. So how is the crisis in the Middle East right now and what's going on in Egypt related to food and hunger? Well,
if you look across North Africa and around the world, something that all of us, I think, are starting to notice is that the price of food and fuel is starting to go back up. And we'll notice it here in the States that gas prices are higher, but food prices are inching up as well. And in fact, the rising cost of food was one of the contributing factors to the outbreak of protest in Algeria. And you had the twin factors of, firstly, the price of food is higher, and secondly, there's chronic levels of unemployment. And so even though we're being told that the economy is recovering, for some people certainly, bank bonuses are still higher now than they're getting back to high levels. But for a lot of working Americans or a lot of working people around the world, there is this yawning gap between the price of food and their income. And so the protests that started off in Algeria have spread, and they're in part about food and about food prices. But they're also about people empowering themselves to say, well, enough is enough. And there is something that we can do about transforming our world. Now, in Egypt, those protests have taken a certain form, but in fact, around the world, you're seeing these so-called food rebellions,
right.
And I think we can expect to see many more of them in 2011.
Just back to your book briefly, you talked about a Buddhist economist.
That's right.
That was friends with Keynes?
That's right. It's a very strange. I mean, people don't expect such a thing as Buddhist economics.
Right,
but
yeah.
so there's a guy called E.F. Schumacher, and he wrote a book in the 1970s called "Small is Beautiful," and the idea was that I mean he was noticing that it's something that we've found with recent economic research, that after you hit a certain income level, societies, even though there's societies become wealthier, they don't necessarily become significantly happier.
Right.
And the kind of economics that he was suggesting is that actually what we need to do is recognize that what we want is to maximize happiness in society,
right.
and people's well-being and welfare.
But this is not socialism. I mean, a lot of critics might say, like, this is just you're
No,
arguing for socialism.
No, but because I mean the idea is that we should all control the economy, not have Big Brother control the economy, and it's sort of a middle path between letting giant corporations run the show and letting giant government run the show.
Right.
It's a much more democratized kind of economy that pays attention not to greed but to satisfying basic wants, and with everyone getting to control the way that economy operates. And I think that's a very interesting model. It's something that actually it takes markets very seriously, because markets are terrific. Markets are a wonderful way of exchanging between peers, a way of uncoerced exchange and a way for goods and information to travel freely. But in many ways, what we live in at the moment is the anti-market, where you have concentrated power in the hands of either government or large corporations. And what the ideas of small is beautiful, and some of the ideas I explore in The Value of Nothing are about, is reclaiming the real promise of free exchange in markets.
Raj, thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew.
Have a great day.